Daniel, Kenya, just arrived yesterday. I will also introduce him later. But members, I'm very excited that we are all here. And with us are two important documents. One is the summary of the blueprint of transforming education, a pathway for national transformation. That document should be on the table. If you don't have it, please, the team should be able to deliver it immediately. It's blue in color. Then you also have the profile of Dr. Tony. It's just one page. It has been summarized. The other document is the program. Yes, the program. So those are three important documents for you that you should be able to ascertain whether you have the three documents, the 3 pages. We want to also say thank you, our chair of today's meeting. Mine is to organize for him the way. Chair, you're welcome. Chair is already in the house. And I want to recognize him. We'll introduce him later. Then the plane can take off. Of course, the Global Peace Foundation team, Professor Randy, Daniel, and Mzee, call him Mzee because he's in charge of family across the country, Family Peace Association across the country, Mr. Ezra Mundika. So our brother, of course, is following up. I think you do your work. You're following up, doing his job. Other leaders are coming, but we have two important people that have approved this event. One is NCDC. We want to say thank you so much for hosting us. I think before we start, let's NCDC is not a drug. Some people, those abbreviations, no drug for some people. It's a National Curriculum Development Center. And thank you, Mama, for we had a meeting and you said, yes, let's host it. We clap for you because that started with you. So we are here. We want to say thank you so much. We'll introduce you as we move forward. So we want to start the meeting. I think the quorum is ready. Is the quorum ready? Where is the team? Professor, is the quorum ready? It's full. It's 7 for now. Parliament these days, even if they don't have a quorum, they approve laws. We don't want to be part of that group. So I think colleagues who would like to go forward and read the program so that as chair comes in, takes over, we are ready and we are smooth. Transforming this, the event is called Transforming Education Workshop. Of course, you have been in many workshops, but this is one over there. And the theme of today's workshop, Dr. Tony, we want to say thank you because you guided plus NCDC. The theme of today's meeting, it's a short meeting, 2.5 hours and we are back. It's not a whole day's event, just a few hours and we go back. The theme of today is visualizing the purpose and future of education. That's a very big statement. And we are talking about in the Global South towards 2050. So welcome the citizens of 2050. You're welcome. Delivering the blueprint to transform for transforming education and its outcomes for socio-economic stability of the country, Uganda. I think it's a good thing. So thank you, our elders, that we were able to give us the theme of today. So everything we're going to discuss must be and in line with the theme. The purpose and the future of education. You're welcome, Doctor, and we want to say thank you once again. You can sit anywhere or invite. You can sit with your sister there. She has been waiting for you, Director. Oh, okay, yeah. You can sit anywhere. Yes. She has arrived. It's you we have been waiting for so that we start. So the program, we were meant to start at 2 p.m., but of course, the whole city is jammed because of our party. We love our party. We are here for it early. So we are going to start by hey, the commissioner, yes, thank you. So I'll introduce you after reading this program. So arrival registration, I hope we have registered our names so that NCDC has a database and the resolutions that follow can be made effectively. The next agenda is the welcoming remarks. Of course, the welcoming remarks will come from NCDC, the hosting agency in that area. Then they will use basically 5 to 10 minutes. Then we'll have the overview and the expected outcomes from the meeting. I'll come in just a few minutes, few minutes, just quickly. Then we'll introduce Dr. Tony Divine, and he can be able to present. He comes from the United States. We say thank you, welcome, Dr. Tony, for this investment of moving around the world, and we are privileged to have you. Then after his presentation, of course, we will have now each one of you to call the entire team, all of us, to action, but particularly commitment to increased investment and plans to host several engagements going forward. This is just a launch of more engagements and workshops and trainings and even field activities. And so each one of you will be able to discuss and present and share your mind. Then we can have the closing prayer, a group photo, yes, that is very important. And we can go back home. I think it's a summarized program, unless you have any input, and we'll be able to listen to your advice so that we can open officially. Anything to add or subtract, members? Yes, please. Yes, please. An opening prayer, very important. Wow, an opening prayer. We have the closing prayer, but the opening prayer, those people who put the opening is very good. Is it there, Mama? Hey.
Arrival, registration, and dedication to the meeting.
Dedicating the meeting to God. You are very right. So, Sisi, you have identified that one. I think, Chair, with your powers, you can take over the meeting with the recommendation that Mama should now dedicate the meeting to God. I beg to sit down.
Yes, thank you, the Master of Ceremonies. If it is okay to call you that. Yes, but of course I would have preferred rather the host, but they do not go Peace Foundation understand this meeting much better, the objectives and what should be achieved in the meeting. So it would have been good for you to take the chair, and then I will give the welcome remarks on behalf of NCDC.
Thank you, Chair.
If that's in order, I think it's better you chair the meeting, because you know what this meeting is all about and what should be achieved.
Thank you, Chair, for your direction. And for that matter, members, let's stand up for opening prayer and dedication of this meeting to God. And we request a Muslim and a Christian to be able to pray for the meeting and thank God for the opportunity to meet. At the end of this training, we will have a relationship. We can build a relationship right away. I wanted just to introduce you. I now want to introduce my colleague to stand up and introduce himself. Then we can move very quickly. Your name, your department. Your name and your department. I think it's got to do that.
Thank you, Milton. Thank you, everyone. My name is Daniel Juma Omondi. I come from Kenya. I am the Africa Regional Representative of the Global Peace Foundation. And I'm happy to join you here today. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ezra Okondika. I serve as the Country Director of Family Peace Association in Uganda.
cooperative department of finance, this foundation is done.
Okay, Richard. Put our heads together. Putting heads together means to think without the box in the mind. Some people say, think, you know. You may go back to the box. This time we want to think without the box. Because I think we are in the comfort. And so the country has very important challenges that require us, all of us, to take ownership of them, to know that we are the causes of those problems, because we are not coming together, and think and putting our systems together. So colleagues, NRM has no answer to these problems, because they also base and depend on us, what we cook in the kitchen. And so youth unemployment is one of them, colleagues. It's a challenge before us, a good challenge to us. Through the conflict in the country, conflicts all over, people's mindset and behavior towards the environment. These are mountains that are there for us to work together and tackle. Nobody's going to fix these issues. I'm very happy that Busoga Kingdom is represented. Let's clap for her, please. Busoga Kingdom is represented. I think next time we shall have the Uganda, and you know, we pray. He's coming? Oh wow, she's coming. Very good. So, Mr. Chair, these are good challenges to talk about. We should not hide about saying that these national challenges are good challenges for us to address. So, the National Curriculum Development Center, all the directorates of education and the Ministry of Education, we have now to unite ourselves and support each other. And the President has no answer to the country. He's actually going to focus on what are the education institutions and these agencies cooking for him. So I would wish that we provide him what to say before the country. So colleagues, I want to say, let's clap for Mama Janet Museveni, our mother. Let's clap for her because she has tried. She's stepping in this ministry as a minister. There are many transformational outcomes she has achieved. And now we have to reinforce the vision of Mama. She wants to tell the country no more unemployment. She wants to tell the country that the young people are the first priority and the goal of Uganda. Some people think young people are problems to Uganda. No. She wants to tell the country, please even let us have more younger people. But then the question is, how prepared are we to prepare the whole population of the country with the right education? Right education, you can have it, but you have wrong players to implement. So those are some of the issues we want to discuss today. We know the problems, I want to remind you know them. We want to discuss now, how can we now be a team, working together in love? Where you say, yeah, according my code, it's like we must love one another, my friends. That's what Dr. Tony is going to talk about. Other countries are in another world. Now education is being managed by artificial intelligence. They no longer want to know which chair, what. People on other business, for us we are still here. And we cannot actually block the changes that are coming. But who's going to cause them? So that now we can rigorously transform Uganda. It's us. Poor leaders, corruption, the diseases, everything. It's us. So Dr. Tony is coming to remind us, please, can you work together? Can you share? That's the beginning, caring for each other now. Commissioner is there for counseling and guidance. Younger people are still committing suicide in the university. Can we reinforce our office? How? Where does it begin from? Here. And each one of you has an office, a boardroom. These boardrooms must be busy every day. Training, all these are our resources. So I would wish to end here and say the expected outcome of this workshop is to also discuss every 4 months, can we have a workshop? Who's hosting? Different people must host. Different agencies. Dr. Tony should come with all other international experts with him. He's ready to do that. But who's committed? Are we united? We look at each other as competitors, while the country is looking at us for solutions. So, in another outcome, can we have every year a joint national or regional continental education summit? Because we must draw our attention to what the president is giving us, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, Africa's integration, those components. But the educators are not working together. That's why the borders are not being opened up. So, Dr. Tone has good ideas. You have good ideas, we want to share them today. So, every year, like next year, what can we have as departments? Maybe we can start as a nation. Have the Uganda Education Transformation Summit. Then the president and Mama come to address the country. And while you also updating him on your departmental and developmental outcomes and the challenges of budget, national budget, maybe retooling the teachers, maybe technology, competence-based educational curriculum. How shall it be delivered when the parents are just producing for schools without responsibility? Those are some of the issues. So colleagues, at the end of the day, we want also to launch the blueprint, because every nation, in every establishment of every nation state, there should be a blueprint to her education. Uganda doesn't have. Uganda for the last 60 plus years, since independence, we have never had a blueprint to develop the quality, the type of population we must have in the country. Here we have tribalism shaping the politics of the country. Political parties cannot be sit together. They don't have any answer to what type of education, because they cannot give us what they don't have. So you find we must do the right thing. So colleagues, I want to sit and request you that at the end of the day, speak your mind. What are those issues blocking us from working together, thinking together, investing together? So, Mr. Chair, I request you that now you receive us and give your welcoming remarks. Me, I have finished from you. Then we go to the keynote presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, the Master of Ceremonies. I'm sure you accepted that. Our lead facilitator for today's workshop, Dr. Tone Divine. The Minister of Education and Sports officials who are present here today. The Global Peace Foundation team who are with us today, members of staff of the National Curriculum Development Center who have honored the invitation to attend this workshop. I invited guests in your various capacities, ladies and gentlemen. As has been indicated, the purpose of this workshop is to consolidate our working relationship so that we are a family working towards a common vision of transforming education in our country. Please note that at the moment, as a country, we are confronted by challenges which we can only solve if we are united and on a daily basis advising and consulting each other. You'll note, members, that the world is shifting more to an education system that position that the 21st century employer is shifting the needs towards what we call the 21st century competencies or skills. And where the global north, what is our readiness as a country to position ourselves to dominate the industrializing world? And the missing link in this earlier effort is our capacity to unite and bring resources together and to counter international and local challenges. The Global Peace Ambassador, Kambula Milton, for a period exceeding 15 years, has been challenging us to have radical education transformation so that we guide government to solve the problem of youth unemployment, which has already been highlighted, solve challenges of reducing poverty, solve challenges of moral decadence in our communities, and many other challenges which we are facing as a country and as the world. The Global Peace Foundation, with its partners, have since 2014 introduced tools that enhance student and teacher character, that enhance creativity, entrepreneurship, and leadership development. These various skills have been integrated in the current frameworks in the country, including the competency-based curriculum, but we have not yet invested in the assessment standards so that students graduate with the jobs and the right values. Therefore, members, we are here this afternoon to start a humble journey of making sure that we regularly meet, as has been highlighted, dialogue, and build our capacity to transform our education system. I wish you all good deliberations in today's workshop for God and my country. I introduced myself earlier as Dr. Richard Irumba. I'm the Deputy Director, and in this meeting I'm representing the Director of National Curriculum Development Center, Dr. Grace Baguma. I wish you all the best.
I'm up here, right? And it's a great honor and privilege to be here in Uganda once again. I've been engaged with Uganda since 2010. I'm not new here at all. And Milton, in his remarks, mentioned the designation, right, of being the son of Uganda. I actually accept that. I accept it. I love Uganda. I love the Ugandan people. And I really love your students. You've got amazing students and young people here, which is really the reason we're here, right? We're here for them. This is the future of the nation. I really want to thank the Minister of Education, the First Lady, for accepting this engagement this afternoon. And Richard, I really want to thank you and my very, very good friend, Dr. Grace, who I've known for over 10 years, and NCDC for our collaboration. What we're doing here today is the beginning of a new journey, okay? The beginning of a new journey together. So, as you can see here on the screen, right? So we're here to go a little bit more in depth into the blueprint for transforming education, right? So education needs to be urgently transformed, and I'll explain why. And Milton mentioned, right, the need for us to collaborate together, right? To do that, for what purpose? The purpose is national transformation. So transforming education is a pathway to national transformation. In fact, all the sectors of Uganda and every nation have to be transformed. We're going to start here. Education is so critical. 70% of your population are young people, right? You're the envy of the United States, Japan, Korea, Europe. They only have older people now, right? But you have young people, right? Which is like an incredible blessing, an incredible responsibility that goes along with that as well, okay? So, what I'm going to ask all of us here today, right? Every single person here, is to kind of have an open mind, right? Just in the next hour or so, right? And even, it might be even, I would even suggest, just forget everything you know about education, okay? Start with a blank slate. This is something I've done for many, many years, right? I lead education work around the world, but I wake up every morning with a blank slate. I pretend I know nothing about education, and that gives a way I'm learning a lot, right, about what we need to do and where the world is going. So this is just a little piece of personal advice I want to share with you here this afternoon. So we want to visualize not just the future of education, but even more importantly, the purpose of education. We think we know the purpose, but I don't think we really do, right? And this will become clear as we move along here, right? So we're here in 2025, right? The year 2025. And this is the dawn of a new era. But I want to take you back 125 years ago, during the second industrial revolution, right? Because at that time, around the 1900s, we saw the convergence of 5 general purpose technologies. So one was the automobile, right? The internal combustion engine. And that allowed transportation of goods and services and for people, right, to become mobile. Another one was the telephone. You kind of take this for granted, but there used to be no telephones. And there was a time when there was no automobiles, just horses, right? Mass production. Henry Ford pioneered the production line with the Model T. And since then, can you believe it that every automobile in the world, Honda, Toyota, you drive a lot, there's a lot of Toyotas here, they all are using the same production line, right, as from 125 years ago. And the next one is railroads and the steamships and steel, right? And the catalyst that allowed all of these to converge was electricity. There was a time where there was no electricity. We take it for granted, right? I grew up in a home in Ireland. I'm originally from Ireland. We did not have electricity until I was 10 years of age. So I know what life is like without electricity, personally, right? If you can believe that, right? Of course, I live in the United States right now, and we've got lots of electricity. Now, just in our lifetime, like catapulting forward to the last 45 years, since the 1980s, we have witnessed the 5 recent technological super cycles, right? The first one was the personal computer in the 1980s, right? There was a time when we only had typewriters, right? But the personal computer allowed, this is the beginning of the information age. And then those computers got connected together through the internet, right? In the 1990s. There was a time when there was no internet in our lives, okay? And then the internet and those personal computers, you didn't have to sit at your desk anymore. This was the beginning of the smartphone and mobile, the mobile revolution. So you could access this information, right, anytime, anywhere, anyhow. Then it moved, the information left our computers and our smartphones, and it moved to the cloud. Not physical clouds, these big data centers, right? That again, you can access the information anytime. And now, right now, the last year or two, we have started the 5th super cycle, but this is the super cycle of super cycles, right? The artificial intelligence super cycle. This does not even compare to the other 4 combined. It doesn't even compare to the 5 technological technologies of the early 1900s. This puts humanity and the world on a whole other level altogether, okay? So this is where we stand. And what we're seeing right now, right, is the convergence. By the way, the things I'm sharing with you right now, this is not entertainment, okay? It's not like, stimulating your curiosity. Everything I'm telling you has 100% direct relevance to all of you here in this room and to Uganda. This is not an American thing. This is a Uganda thing. This will impact you whether you like it or not, right? So artificial intelligence came on the scene publicly, right, through ChatGPT in 2022. Of all these technologies that I shared with you, this has the fastest adoption. Within about a week, almost 1 million people downloaded the app. This was never seen before, right? And we have public blockchain, a brand new technology. This is the technology behind cryptocurrencies, and we're heading there quick. Energy, solar energy generation, and battery storage. Huge, right? Another one is robotics. Autonomous vehicles that drive themselves, right? Robots, not just the ones in factories, but the ones that look like us, humanoid robots. The world was created in the image of human beings. So now we're going to have humanoid robots that will assist us and can navigate in this physical world, right? To do a lot of, monotonous things, right? And genetic mapping, right? So this brings us to a very, with this kind of background, so how is this relevant to us here today as educational leaders, right? It has a massive relevance. And I want to give you some key executive points from about half a dozen major reports that came out already this year. This is all from 2025. And I just want to cite the reports collectively together and then give you the synopsis, right? This is about 400 pages altogether, but I'm going to give it to you in a few minutes, okay, the key points. So we're talking about the World Economic Forum, Future of Jobs Report 2025. The Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development Employment Outlook 2025. PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a consultancy firm in the US, Global AI Jobs Barometer 2025. The International Monetary Fund Working Paper 2025. The World Bank Jobs Report 2025. The McKinsey is another consultancy company, AI in the Workplace 2025. Deloitte, another consultancy company, Gen Z and Millennial Survey 2025, right? I would encourage you to actually read some of these reports, right? And that's why I reference here. But let me give you the key takeaways from them. So from the World Economic Forum 2025 report, it projects that 22 to 39% of the labor market will turn over, right, by 2030. So, the education sector is working on an old paradigm. It's working on a predictable future, right? And I'll explain about this in a few minutes. That's no longer okay. So how can you educate young people for the workforce when about 40% of the current jobs are going to turn over? They're not going to exist. They're going to be new types of jobs. So what kind of an education should we be giving them, right? That's the implication for us here today. And 192 million jobs will be displaced by 2030. Can you believe that? 92 million existing jobs. These are the jobs that ministries of education are educating for, by the way. You're educating for the past, okay? Not just Uganda Ministry of Education, but every Ministry of Education in the world. I was in Kenya last week, working with the Ministry of Education there, and educational stakeholders. I'll be in the Philippines from next week and the week after, working with the Department of Education there and other stakeholders as well. The OECD 2025 report says that, now listen to this statistic, 1.1 billion jobs, not 1.1 million, 1.1 billion jobs are going to be radically transformed by AI and technology by 2030. Now, I just want to, just let this number register for a second, 1.1 billion. There are 1.2 billion young people in the world. the largest youth population ever. They're in our education, they're in your schools right now, right? They're in our universities, they're in basic education, right? And we're educating them. By the time they graduate, right, finish high school, finish school and so on, the jobs that we educated them for are no longer going to be there, right? There's going to be new jobs, and they're not ready for them. They are not ready for them, okay? So the reason we have to collaborate together is absolutely essential, right? We have to collaborate. The Ministry of Education in any country alone cannot transform education. Global Peace Foundation alone, we cannot do it either, right? So the time has come, once and for all, that we have to collaborate. We have to engage the private sector. In Uganda last week, at our Transforming Education Leadership Workshop, we had a lot of technology companies. Oracle was there, right? Oracle with OpenAI and SoftBank in Japan, they're investing $500 billion to build Stargate. This is a massive AI center in Texas, right? They're rediverting all their resources to do this, and so are all the big technology companies as well. Here are 3 other absolutely mind-blowing statistics, right? The International Monetary Fund and PricewaterhouseCoopers are stating that AI is affecting 40% of global jobs, with skills evolving 60% faster in exposed jobs, right? So the necessary skills that we think we're teaching them kids for, right? It's changing so rapidly, right? According to Youth Focus from the World Bank, 1.2 billion young workers entering job markets by 2035 are facing a 780 million job creation gap. And from McKinsey and Deloitte, urgent upskilling, as much as 74 to 77% of Gen Z expect AI impact soon. That's who are in our classrooms, the tail end of Gen Z and the entire generation, the new generation of Generation Alpha, okay? So these technologies that I'm talking about here, and the kind of new jobs that are going to be coming on stream weekly, right? Not next year, the week after. This is happening so fast, right? It's going to usher in a potentially amazing future where we're going to have basic needs being met by everybody, right? Human labor is freed up, right? We're going to be doing massive space exploration. There is something going to be called a space economy, okay? Happening in our lifetime. It's already starting. Life on Earth becomes more sustainable, right? Through these technologies, okay? So the catalyst driving it all is artificial intelligence. So let me talk about intelligence for a second, right? So all of us human beings here, right? There's no humanoid robots in the room, right? We're all human beings here, just double checking, right? So all of us real flesh and blood human beings, we have a mind, right? It's up here, okay? And we have something called biological intelligence, often referred to as IQ, intelligent quotient, right? But AI, artificial intelligence, right, is external to the human being. This is a very important point to keep in mind. It's external. And in the current state of AI, as of right now in 2025, the AI is as smart as a human, okay? So you know this. Have you been using ChatGPT or Grok or Claude, these AI models? Who's been using them? Are you using them every day? Every hour? Your students are using them. It's just an app on your phone, right? But here's the saying, okay? Here's the saying. Coming super fast by the end of 2025, 2026, AI is going to make a giant leap forward. We're going to have the entrance of artificial general intelligence, okay? This is happening by the end of this year, next year. What is artificial general intelligence? That is, the AI is smarter than any human, not as smart as. And when I say any human, all of you here in the room have serious educational credentials, correct? Otherwise, you couldn't be in these jobs, right? So artificial general intelligence is smarter than each one of you, right? That's what it means, right? Even smarter than somebody with three PhDs, okay? In fact, one of the AI models called Grok 4 that was released in July, right? They actually ran it through humanity's last exam. Have you heard of that at all? Humanity's last exam? You guys give lots of exams, right? There's something called you can Google this. So this is a set of about 200 questions from across all of the sciences and social sciences that groups of PhDs cannot answer, right? But Grok 4 answered these questions successfully to 44%. The greatest PhDs, the maximum they could get these right is about 3%, okay? And soon it will be 100%, okay? But that's not the end, right? Coming really fast, right, by 2030 is the next level of AI, okay? And that's called artificial superintelligence, ASI. What does that mean? This means that the AI is smarter than all of humanity combined. Now the AI is going to discover new physics, new maths, right? It's going to solve most of our medical problems. It's going to discover new biology. Can you believe this? This is 2030, okay? And just after it. So my question to all of us here, what are you doing right now to get your students ready for this reality? Okay? When I came here to Uganda this time, right before I left the United States, I had to apply for my visa 7 times in a week because of all kinds of hiccups and different things, right? I don't want to bore you with here, right? But AI does not need a visa to get into Uganda. Okay? It's coming in, no government can stop it, okay? Although governments should have some kind of guidance, right? Ethical frameworks and so on to manage it, of course, and especially in the education sector. So you guys, I'm going to pause here for a second and just check in with you. Is this blowing past your mind and you're thinking, oh no, this is just in America, right? So I'd love to hear some commentary for a second here on what you've heard so far based on all this data. One of my roles here is to present to you the trends that are coming at us over the next 5 to 10 years. It's very important to know that, so that we can recalibrate, right? So that we can align our educational goals and objectives in alignment to these trends and prepare the amazing young people in Uganda for an age of abundance, or not, right? So I'd love to hear a comment from anybody. It's quite unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, please.
I don't know. You want me to make a comment about AI? Is that whether...
Anything you heard so far?
Yes. Of course, we had a lot of things that you have presented about AI, but I know there is a history with which technology has been moving. And every generation has something that it brings about. Now, you talked about the job losses that may occur due to AI. And sometimes we tend to think that's an issue for the Western world. While I was listening to our president the other day, he was giving strategic bottlenecks to development in Uganda. And this is what it said. We need infrastructure development. We need the standard gauge rail. We don't have money for that. We need irrigation because we need to be food secure. We don't have the money for that. In Kampala here, we need a bus rapid transport system. We need access to markets in the Western world as well. I know we have been precluded from selling our products to the Western world. How relevant then is AI to us? Thank you.
Okay. So, Milton, I think we have to extend this this briefing for 2 more days. I am failing miserably here, right? So, no, I appreciate what you just said, by the way. I'm just joking here, right? But I'm not really joking, right?
No, we can discuss.
No, we're discussing, yeah.
No, for the
exactly.
next 2 days.
Yeah. So this is what we were saying in the beginning. We need a lot more engagement on this. You know, what I'm presenting here is just a basically executive summary. We take 3 days to do this. I'm going to the Philippines next week. We're going to one region in Northwest Philippines, Region 1. 3 full days, not an hour. Okay, all right, go over all of this. But you mentioned all the things that you don't have, right, in relation to AI. But you forgot to mention what you do have.
Yes.
What do you have?
We have rare minerals.
Yes.
We don't have capital to export them.
Yeah. We
We have gold, we have iron, we have everything. We have water, but we are unable to irrigate
Yeah.
the dry areas. we have food, we are unable to preserve it.
Yeah.
So, can you balance that with the AI?
Yes. Okay. So, all right then. I'll just answer the question for you. Okay. What you do have, right, is your young people. That is your #1 resource. Your young people. America would, and Europe, and Japan, and Korea, and so many other countries would give an arm and a leg for 70% of their population for young people. And who is the best with technology? Not you guys. Your young people, the ones in your classroom, okay? They can, if I had like 25 students from your schools here today, they would be solving all of these, they would have half a dozen of these problems solved in 3 days, okay? You know how I know that? Because I had students in a mini workshop yesterday. Your students, right? Yeah. You were there, Richard. It was amazing, right? How hopeful they are, right? There wasn't one single thing they were saying, we can't do this, we can't do that, how do we do this? They were saying, they looked at these are all business opportunities. This is living in Uganda is an entrepreneur's dream, okay? Because there are unlimited problems to solve. Energy, right? You need electricity, you need data centers, you need all the things you said. These are business opportunities for your young people. So that's why we're here, right? And these technological platforms combined with low Earth orbiting satellites like Starlink, right? Our young people, you can be connected to the global economy like this. This wasn't around even a few years ago. So focus on what you do have, right? And what you have is the #1 resource ever. The country with the largest youth population on Earth, right? So what kind of education are we giving them, right? So based on that input, I'd like to hear from somebody else what you think about that point. Yes, we have both of you.
Yes, yes, I appreciate
the opportunity that you are showing us in terms of the resources that we have as a nation. But from these slides, what I'm seeing that however much we run, we may not be able to catch up with AI direction and where it's going. And even then, the way artificial intelligence is changing is unknown to the generation that's planning for the education right now. So we are sort of looking at what we have or what we're exposed to in order to prepare for the future generation.
Yes.
But this artificial intelligence and whatever it is changing almost on a weekly basis. So that whatever you devise today, tomorrow is already obsolete. So how do we then address the issue of the future with the limited tools and the capacity that we have right now?
Yes. Great question, and I want to answer that question in the next time I have left. Okay. That question will be answered before we leave here today. All right. Okay. Did you have something to say?
It is not far from what he has said.
Okay.
Actually, the question was that what are we doing to get our children prepared
Yes.
for the artificial
Yes.
intelligence? But the concern is still that artificial intelligence is moving very, very
Exactly.
fast. So I was wondering whether there is need for continued education, because I believe in the near future, everything will be done by artificial human beings.
Yes. But biological human beings, us, right? We have to manage it. It's just another tool, folks, right? It's just another piece of tech. You know, Uganda, there was a time recently when nobody in Uganda had smartphones, and you feared them. You know, this is just an American saying, but then they came here, right? Your students have them. So you've had this experience when you were without the technology, and you're thinking, oh, this will never come to Uganda. Now everybody has it, right? It's the same here. It's exactly the same. There's no difference, okay? All right? It's just the speed. Smartphones are evolving at lightning speed too, right? Remember the first smartphones and the ones today? You know, I mean, there's more power on our smartphone now than what landed the Apollo mission on the moon. Can you believe that? Okay? You can land rockets on Mars with what's in your phone if you want, right? If you want. Yes.
Mine is about the future of the children. Much as we are saying, our resource is the younger children, the younger people that we have. What will be the future of their reasoning capacity? Because you are giving them work, they just go to AI, they have not thought of anything, and they have presented the work. So what will be the future?
Okay, great question, right? So, you know, on that question, right, does educators fear AI because they think the students will, we're kind of like stuck in very old patterns, right? And I'll explain all this in a second, right? It's like, how much knowledge can you retain? You give the students an assignment, and they can use ChatGPT and have it done in a minute, right? Okay. So, you know, what are we doing then? You might be asking, right? Ban AI from the schools of Uganda? It's not happening. Students, I was telling the students yesterday, right, we were engaging them. Students today have to be the CEO of their own education. Because if they're not getting the education from their teachers, they've got to get it from other sources, okay? That is just, I'm just stating an obvious fact. It's pure common sense, okay? And I'll go deeper into this in a minute, okay? I will answer your question too, I promise, okay? All the answers are coming, okay?
Excuse me, Doctor.
And yes?
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. I'm a bit further that as you shared, I was actually thinking that we need to even change the way we are doing our things. It's like, wow, now where are we going? And like now when we talk about new curriculum and we're encouraging our young people to
learn to do things on their own. And sometimes teachers are not embracing. We have no option, we have to embrace. So that in place that the innovation is talking about, the infrastructure we are talking about, how do we tap into it instead of getting scared of it?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And we have our young people. These young people are very sharp.
Oh, very
brilliant.
sharp. You got an amazing
Push them and I tell you they will even be able to move faster than the AGI you're talking about.
Yeah.
They will be there.
Yes.
So we need to change the way we are doing our things and embrace it. Because if it is coming, we don't have to get scared because it is coming. We now think of what we should do.
Yes.
So that we take advantage of it
Yes.
and see how we develop ourselves.
Yes.
That is my submission.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Still, it is a lesson what even among the parents. Remember, we have said that it is more smarter than ourselves. So, as he has brought in the issue of bring the secondary God, can we think of the parents? Sometimes you find a parent being proud, the child using the AI, not even thinking as she put it. So you see, our culture, our biological issues are going to disappear, but AI cannot operate without the human being, without our thinking. So let's see how do we do that.
100%. If you look at number 4 on the blueprint, it says building great families. And what we're advocating for here, right, is that the number one part, right, need guidance from their parents and from their teachers, right? No AI can substitute for that. And I will explain that in a second, by the way.
Actually, Doctor, when you look at your countries, you've used the IT, you've used technology, but your children have limits. But the challenge we have here that when a particular system or innovation is introduced, there are no mechanisms to manage it. It is used in as everyone thinks. I always tell people that children in the UK, children in the US, use phones, use AI, but how do they use it? It's that they don't get spoiled, don't misuse it.
Yes.
So as we are looking at this, let's find a way
Yes.
and make sure.
So if you look to number 8, the blueprint, it says harnessing AI and technology for an age of abundance. And I'll just read the first piece underneath this. In an age of powerful tools, ethics must lead, right? So you won't hear this from anybody else, right? So in Global Peace Foundation, we're actually advocating that we use AI. It's the latest tool, but it has to be guided by ethics. We have to use it for the greater benefit of humanity, and that question is essential. There's never been a time in human history when morals, universal principles and values are front and center to guide these exponential technologies so that they're used for the benefit of humanity and not for the destruction of humanity. Okay? We don't want the Terminator, right? Do you see the movie The Terminator? Right, Skynet, who launched all the nuclear weapons, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Did you ever see that movie? Did that come from Uganda at all?
Yeah.
Back when? Okay. All right. Okay. So we're talking about this point, right? So AI. All of you are asking the question: where do human beings fit in this equation? Right? Very, very much front and center. Right? Very much front and center. First of all, human beings created the AI, not some alien species, okay? Not some rogue computer program. We created it, right? So we have to have stewardship over it, you know what I mean? So there's never been a time when deeper human input is necessary, where principles and values are necessary, right? Guided by character, values, and moral and innovative leadership. And I'll explain a little bit more about all that in a second. There's a new book that came out in February of this year. I would encourage all of you here to study it. To first of all read it and then study it. I've read it myself a couple of times, right? It's called Stellar, A World Beyond Limits and How to Get There by James Arid and Tony Seaback, okay? So they talk about these, artificial intelligence and these new technological platforms that I described earlier on. And what they're saying towards the end of the book is that these transformative technological platforms must be guided by transformative human beings, okay? And transformative governments, right? And transformative ministries of education. In other words, putting it another way, right? We cannot remain in a legacy state in our own growth and development as humans. We must transform ourselves, especially leaders, right? Everyone in this room, okay? Then we can manage it. If we don't, it's going to manage us, okay? We don't want the tail wagging the dog, folks, right? Or do you? No. That means we have to step up and take leadership, right? So, just very briefly, right? Each and every single one of us in this room here, we have an opportunity, and I'm just mentioning this word opportunity, to lead in 3 worlds at the same time. First of all, the inner world, right? You're the CEO of yourself, right? To grow spiritually, to grow emotionally, relationally, to grow mental, cognitively, to grow in your physical vitality, right? To manage what you eat, to exercise, all of those things, right? No one else can do this for you. You're the CEO, you have to lead yourself. That's the hardest, who's the hardest group of people to lead in your experience? Is it the people at NCDC? Richard, what's harder, to lead the entire team at NCDC or to actually lead yourself?
To lead myself.
He's an honest man. Give Richard a big round of applause here. He is an honest man. That's why you're in this position, right? It's exactly true. The hardest thing we do every day is to lead ourselves, to grow, to develop, to overcome bad habits, right? And so on and so forth, right? The second world we lead in, that we've been opportunity to lead in, is in our families, right? In our families. How many people here in this room are either a son or a daughter? Raise your hands. So about 80%, so 20% do not have parents. So some of you in this room, are you saying that, let me ask this again. I'll put this another way. How many people in this room have parents? 100%. That means you are a son or a daughter, right? I know it kind of like it's kind of funny saying it, but we should never take that for granted, yes. Right? Yes. So even as a son or daughter, no matter if you're 2 years old, or you're 42 years old, or 62 years old, you can still be a good son or daughter towards your parents, right? Yes. How many meals, Richard, how many meals did your mother cook in her lifetime for you?
I don't know.
He's like, you forgot, right? So imagine, right, you go home tonight, you visit your mom, right? And the minute you come in, because of her deep heart, she's going to start cooking dinner for you, right? So that's what mothers do. And you say, Mom, please sit down. I'm going to cook dinner for you. You cook hundreds of thousands of meals for me, but I'm going to cook you this meal. Sit down and relax. How is that mom going to feel about you? I'll ask the ladies here. If a son of yours came in and said that, how would you feel? Very happy. Not happy. Very happy. So Richard, you have a task to do tonight. Okay? Because your mom will be very happy. Right? Same story if you have a brother or sister, right? You lead. You would improve those relationships. How many people here are married? You have a spouse. Imagine coming home and cooking for your wife, guys, right? And doing the dishes afterwards. So ladies, how would you think about your husband if he did that?
Very happy.
You see that? Very happy. Now guys, and all the men here, right? I'm giving you the secret to happy marriages here, right? Your wife will be all over you. She'll be kissing you right in the center. You won't even know what's going on, right? And the same with the wives towards their husbands. Now let me ask the husbands here. Well, let me ask Richard, since he's the chairman, right? He's right in eye line with me. He's a good man, so I'm interacting with a good guy here, right? So Richard, imagine, right, tomorrow, right? No, imagine this afternoon. You're taking out some of the team here for a meal to discuss this briefing here, right? And of course, being the leader here, you're going to pay for the meal, right? And then you open up your wallet, right? So you open up your wallet like this, okay? To take out your credit card, right? And then there is this little message here. You never saw this in the wallet before. You open it up, it's from your wife. And it says, Richard, I really, really love you. How do you feel hearing such a message?
Very exciting.
Very If that you would go back to the meeting and say, guys, we have to end really quick. I got something, I have a very important meeting I have to go to next. You don't have an important meeting. You can't wait to get home to your wife, right? So you leave them. So you guys get what I'm talking about here? We can, even now, we can take new leadership in these familial roles, right? Isn't that exciting? Yes. I don't know why the family skipped over all the time, right? Please convey this message to your young people, right? They're not getting any guidance. They're all going to create families and they have no guidance. They're in school for 16 years. No one is guiding them. Do you think they need to be guided a little bit?
Yes.
Only Milton said yes. How about the rest? What about NCDC? What do you guys think? Do you think we should create a marriage and family center here? Right, and it could be a parallel thing in your schools and so on and so forth. I mean, it's just an idea here, right? And all it is a soft suggestion, but make it happen. Okay? And then we need in the outer world. For all of us here in the room, the outer world is the education sector. We need to lead in this sector based on everything I said. We have to do things differently. We have to do new things, and that's why we must collaborate together, not just all of us here in this room, but bring more partners in to join the effort, right? This should trigger a massive set of new actions, right? As Milton is pointing out, to a whole series of transforming education leadership workshops, right? That are urgently needed, okay? So the current education system, right? Let me go back to here. So the current system that you have here in Uganda, that we have in the United States, that we have in Great Britain, is the same one that's been around since the 19th century. Okay? It's 300 years old. It's the production line. We call it the conventional educational system. Here in Africa, it's an import. It's not even yours. You imported it, right? And it's no longer relevant. It's no longer relevant, right, to the 21st century. So you're operating on an industrialized model. And kind of like you're an autopilot, right? So we need to wake up. There's a foreign construct here, okay? So we're advocates. We have something. Daniel, can you just mention in 1 minute what the African Renaissance and what it is, and that we launched it last year? Listen to Daniel here now.
So basically, the African Renaissance was launched last year during the Global Peace Leadership Conference in Nairobi. Basically encouraging Africans to wake up, kind of an African renewal that is based on African values. So Africa was colonized, and colonization was the saddest thing that happened to Africa. But then the colonialists came and told us that everything about us is bad. Our language is bad, our skin is bad, our education system is bad. And so they did not take into cognizance the values that we had, in Africa, even the character that we learned, from our mothers. When I was young, You know, it was very difficult for me to even insult my mother. It was very difficult for me to disobey my mother. You know, it was natural because we were superstitious that if I insult my mother, if I don't listen to my mother, I would even be struck by lightning. So this fear, you know, this kind of fear made us to be conforming, to basically be good people, good human beings. You know, so we are saying that as we enter this new civilization, it's a new awakening that not everything in Africa was bad. Not everything in Africa was bad. So the colonial, they gave us this, and the education was basically to produce industrial workers to work in the system, but they ignored many of the values that we have. So right now they're saying that it is time for an African Renaissance, that we in Africa need to choose those values and protect the values that we think are important. Of course, we work with the values that we have from the West, but we need to look at what are those values from Africa that are important, the values that made us who we are, and how come is it that, for example, in the village in Siaya, Uganda, where I come from, it's not easy to find street boys in Uganda. Why? Because we have something called the extended family model, where if my brother died, and I have many brothers who died, we take care of their kids. We educate their kids.
Yes.
You know, we ensure that their kids have food. You know, we even have, basically, of course, where I come from, I'm a Luo, an inheritance kind of system, you know, where it's basically, you know, meant to ensure that, you know, the widow is not left alone. You know, basically, so basically, but you know, some of this was abused, right? You know that, right? Yeah. So we are saying that right now we need, and that's why the Global Foundation is leading this. We are having this African Renaissance initiative to ensure that Africans, as Africa, what are those traditional values? And we're looking at, for example, in Uganda, the working with the rulers, the traditional rulers in Uganda. What about the rulers in Ghana, in Nigeria? What are those things that we can bring together to ensure that we can have an African renewal, an African Renaissance? You know, so that we, as you heard, we are entering a new civilization, and Africa is going to lead. Even right now, even though the West is saying they don't want immigrants to go to the West, but they don't have the most important, which is the human resource that we have. You know, it's an aging population. We have our very, very precious youth, which is our human resource. So we have a responsibility to educate these human resources so that we enter the new civilization with these young people powering the African Renaissance. Thank you very much.
So we opened up the presentation with what is the visualizing the purpose, the true purpose and future of education. But what is the current purpose of education? The current purpose of education is lifelong learning. Okay? And the main point of his keynote address is we have to transition learning to lifelong learning, right? So, if I can create an image of the conventional education system, even with lifelong learning, right? You know, running it on steroids. This is the image. It's an upside-down pyramid where the vast amount of the real estate is focused on knowledge acquisition. Very little on skills, relationships, and character, right? So this is a model that's becoming less and less relevant. And this is so powerful that we actually stopped calling the students, now we call them the learners, right? All you know, the students come into our school, all we care about is you learn. We don't care about your relationships, we don't care about you as a spiritual person. We don't care about it. We only care how much you can remember, right? And then you validate that by tests, quizzes, exams, and final exams, right? That's what you guys measure. This is what this institution is all about, the National Curriculum Development Center, right? So that's all we're assessing, right? So let me ask all of you educational leaders here today, right? Supposing your dream could come true, right? And all of the student, your curriculum is so amazing, right? That the outcome in most of the schools in Uganda is that most of your students are getting straight A's, right? In math, science, language, arts. Would that make you very happy? Yes or no? Yes. So let me ask you this. Supposing those students who got straight A's, how is that an indicator that this is a good person? How is this an indicator that this is a person of good character? How is this an indicator that this young kid is able to relate well with others, is good at teamwork, is excellent at communication? How is that an indicator that this kid has the resilience to solve complex problems or even simple problems, right? You know, it doesn't. So we're measuring the wrong stuff. We're educating for the wrong stuff, right? So this is a model that's becoming less and less relevant, okay? And there's a joke going around that in our classrooms are 20th century students. We're in 2025 right now, so they're all 21st century students, right? Taught by 20th century teachers using a 19th century curriculum on an 18th century calendar. So I'm going to read this again, right? In our classrooms right now are 21st century students being taught by 20th century teachers using a 19th century curriculum on an 18th century calendar. We laugh at this, but the irony of it is it's actually true. Not just here in Uganda, the world over, right? I go to the Philippines next week, right? I was in Kenya last week. I travel all over the world. It's the same all over the world. We're not unique here, okay? So something has to change. We need to rethink the true purpose of education. And it's not helpful to look at the past. We need to look at the future. And the opening of this deck, this slide deck, was giving you a view to the future and the trends that are coming at us at lightning fast speed, right? So we need to look to the future, okay? So let me ask you a question to help answer that question. When you woke up this morning, probably the first thing you all do is go to the bathroom. Is that right? Yes. And then the ladies here, they spend a lot of time in the bathroom, right, ladies? Now, be honest. How much time did you spend in the bathroom this morning, getting ready for today?
30 minutes.
That's fudging. Did you? 30 minutes? Yeah? That's Uganda time. But in real international time, was it more like 60 minutes?
Uganda, I'm not international, so I don't understand.
So 30 minutes, okay. Anyway, even 30 minutes is a long time. Let me ask the guys here. Richard, how much time did you spend in the bathroom?
15 minutes.
15 minutes? Wow, that's quite a lot. But with the ladies, they spend a lot of time putting on all kinds of plaster, makeup, lipstick, right? You know, you open up a woman's handbag, which I've never done, by the way. Right? It's a separate universe. Products and everything, it's unbelievable what they put on themselves, right? So what we see in the mirror is our physical self, correct? Let me ask you this. Did you see your spiritual self? Did you see your emotional self? Right? If you're happy or sad, right? Did you see your mental cognitive dimension? No. So, in other words, we did not see the totality of who we are. The totality of who we are is invisible. You certainly don't see your spirit, right? Your spirit self, okay? And by the way, human beings, that means all of us here today, we're the only species that has a fourth dimension, a spiritual dimension. The big five in Africa don't have a spiritual dimension, or do they? They don't, right?
We don't know.
We don't know. They don't have a spiritual, but only human beings. Okay, I'll tell you how you know. I tell you. You said you don't know, right?
Maybe we're not aware of their spirituality.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So I've been to Masimara, right? Actually, went out on a little safari when I first came to Africa. And I saw the big five, right? But you know one thing I did not see? Is line kingdoms with high rises, line automobiles, right? Line telephones. I didn't see any of that. Because it's the spiritual dimension that allowed humanity to build this modern world, right? It's not the mental. Animals have a mental dimension. It's not developed as much as ours. They certainly have an emotional. We have dogs. They respond to emotions. They definitely have probably the most powerful physical dimension in some respects, right? But they don't have a spiritual dimension. This is where humanity, human beings, are unique in the universe, right? Okay. So this is who we are as a whole. And all of these dimensions need growth and development, not just the mental cognitive dimension. We are now hinting at what the purpose of education is. It needs to cultivate all 4 human dimensions, not just the mental cognitive dimension, okay? And if I was to create a new pyramid as to the purpose of education, right, it would be this. It would be a properly upright pyramid where the lower part of the vast majority of the real estate is character, cultivating character, right? And character links to the spiritual moral dimension. This is a spiritual construct. Relationships is next, okay? Because that's what we primarily learn in the family. That's why we're saying the second world you lead in is the family. This is where we learn about relationships, primarily. That's why it's there next. Next is energy and vitality, right? Because you need energy and vitality to do things, right? You can't go home after spending a long day here at NCDC, right? And you go home at 6 o'clock, and then you have no energy left for your family. How is that going to work out for you? We need energy to get through the whole day. And then finally, it's not acquiring knowledge anymore. It's utilizing knowledge to solve complex problems. Hint, hint, hint at AI, right? So AI is no longer for answering questions. We have to be better at asking it questions. So the skill has switched, right? And it goes back to what Einstein said about 100 years ago. He said, if I had just 1 hour to solve a problem, I will spend the first 55 minutes trying to figure out the right question to ask. For if I figured out the right question to ask, I could solve the problem in 5 minutes. That is so the AI today is almost having a personal Einstein, right? And we have to spend 55 minutes in the hour asking it the right questions. Then you can solve problems. So the whole thing is like turned upside down. We need to catch up with this reality. Does that start to make sense?
Yeah.
Now, how many of you now would like to use AI? Aha, there we go. There we go. Okay. All right. So, what is the true purpose of education then? Right? The true purpose of education is cultivating lifelong character and holistic growth. A big shift from lifelong learning, right? And we shortened it here. It should be lifelong character, relationship, physical vitality, and mental cognitive growth. But the sentence will be way too long then, right? We're spotlighting the primary dimension, which is character, and I'm using the word holistic to include the emotional, the physical, and the mental cognitive, right? That's what holistic means, right? But we're spotlighting the character, because the spiritual moral dimension is the catalyst that drives all the other areas. Just like AI is the catalyst that drives these other technological platforms. Just like in the 1900s, electricity was the catalyst, right? Now it's character. You understand? That's how important it is, okay? And this is how we unlock full human potential. Unlocking full human potential is not a mental construct. You should write that down. Because most people think it's like developing your mindset and so on and so forth. you're going down a rabbit hole if you pursue that line of reasoning, right? Unlocking our full human potential is actually unlocking our spiritual gifts, right? Primarily. And I think here in Uganda, you have a deep sensitivity to this, right? Ubuntu, and so on and so forth. So you have an innate sense of this already, right? Which is amazing. So, in the education sector then, we need to make a massive transition, folks, right? We need to transition from an exclusive focus on the mental-only dimension to cultivating all 4 dimensions, including the spiritual moral dimension, right? Okay? And you may think, oh, you know, isn't that something that pastors do? This is something we all need to do. Parents are the primary cultivators, right? Supported by great teachers, right? Supported by pastors, right? We're all in this together, okay? So, want to just note this theory of, it's not a theory of change, it's a theory of transformation, right? And it starts with us, the educational leaders. It does not start with the students, okay? And notice, I'm not calling the students the learners, because I'm acknowledging that they have 4 dimensions, not a single dimension. If you call them the learners, you're only acknowledging that they have a single dimension. That's all, right? In fairness, if you call them the learners, you should call you the transmitters, right? In fairness, every time you call the student a learner, call yourself not a teacher, but a transmitter. Transmitting knowledge, acquiring knowledge, right? It's kind of like, I'm on a mission to change this. This is like very bad habits that the whole world is using. I don't know where it came from, when it started. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but I'm not giving up till we call the students, okay? Because they have 4 dimensions, right? And then educators who are growing, who are coming in as a better version of themselves every day, can create transformative cultures in their schools. Teachers love coming to school with a smile on their face. Students love being in school, right? And then that triggers, that kind of culture triggers continuous innovation. Having a task force to explore how to realize this blueprint, right? You know what I mean? Because this is an innovation blueprint, okay? A transformative blueprint. Then the students, when they watch the teachers do all these great things, they will be transformed. That's how the students will be transformed, okay? So, igniting unlimited potential, right? To change anything around you starts by transforming yourself. That goes to, you want to have a better marriage? Rather than asking your husband or wife to change this, that, and the other, that is an exercise in futility, folks. I tried it myself, it does not work. I've been married 36 years, I have personal experience here. I woke up to this after 10 years of marriage, and it was so stupid, and I realized, oh my God, I have to stop telling my wife what she has to change. So I only want her to change one thing, that's all, right? But my wife wanted me to change 10 things, right? 10, okay? Not 1, 10. We both went to a Smart Marriages conference in Colorado, and we had a wake-up call. I was presenting at that, actually. And then we realized, oh my God, we're stupid, right? We're going to stop this stupidity. We're going to focus on changing myself now, right? And we started doing that, and our relationship went through the roof. It's been like that ever since, right? Okay? It's the same story with teachers and students, by the way. You will not have disciplinary problems or bullying problems if the teachers transform yourselves and engage the students in their totality, right? As human beings. They won't exist, okay? So Warren Buffett, you know who this is? The founder and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, the most successful value investor, period, in history, right? He was having his annual stockholder meeting, shareholder meeting, he has this every year. And during COVID, during one of these meetings, right, somebody asked he would give his presentation, right? People would give an arm and a leg to be in this meeting in a way, right? They're trying to catch his wisdom, right? Because this guy is an amazing investor. And then one person, during the Q&A, one person asked him, you know, Mr. Buffett, what is a good investment that you can be making right now? This is during COVID, right? People were totally lost during COVID. The intent of that question is, which company should I invest in, right? You know what I mean? So I can be successful and I can have a good retirement and all of this. He gave a surprising answer. He said the best investment you can make is invest in yourself. Because if you invest in a company, you have no guarantee that it's going to be around in 20 years. It could go belly up in a week, right? And there's been companies like that. But if you invest in yourself, there is only pure upside. There is no downside. Because you become more effective, more productive. You're somebody in your job and role that's recognized as somebody who's adding value, right? And your career blossoms, you make more money, right? And you're able to provide more for your family and so on. It's pure upside. And this is a daily thing you've got to do, okay? So let me come back to intelligence again, okay? So we talked about the fact, right, that human beings have biological intelligence. We actually measure that in the sense of intelligent quotient, IQ, right? And these other artificial intelligences that we already covered, I'm not going to go over it again, they're external to us. They're on computers, right? They have nothing to do with us internally, okay? However, and this is what the education sector focuses on. It focuses on IQ exclusively, right? Correct? This is a very, very honest crowd here today, okay? Very honest. Give them a big round of applause. They're honest. Right. But there is a super intelligence. There is a superior intelligence. Far greater than AI, right? Far greater than IQ. It's the key to unlocking all of your full potential. Does anyone know what it is? Correct. SQ, spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence. Clue, 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 tip, tip, tip. Start nurturing and developing spiritual intelligence in your schools, okay? SQ. This is the mastermind. This is the nuclear reactor right here, right? It's the key to unlocking all of our full potential, SQ, because the spiritual moral dimension is the primary dimension, and we need to be good in SQ, spiritual quotient, okay? And it's not the only one. There is something called EQ. Have you heard of that? Emotional quotient, emotional intelligence. In other words, the intelligence to be able to navigate, to be able to relate well with your family, with others, with teachers, students. Guess what, folks? There's something called PQ. Did you know that? Physical quotient, or physical intelligence. Our body has a body mind. This is established research, right? The body has to guide so many functions, right? You know, with speed, cellular structures. You know, I'm not a doctor, right? You know, if my daughter is a doctor, if she came in here, she'd speak to you for 15 days, just on physical intelligence, right? So, as educators, we need to be nurturing not just IQ. We should be primarily nurturing SQ, spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence, and physical intelligence, right? So NCDC, you guys have a lot of work to do and a lot of research to do, right? Don't you think so? And we too at Global Peace Foundation, right? We have a lot of work remaining, we have a lot of research to do on this, okay? And these transformative technological platforms need to be guided by transformative people, right? We need fitness in all 4 dimensions, not just in the mental exclusive dimension, right? As we said. And you know, this is all leading to us here in the room, that we have to become moral and innovative leaders. Moral leaders are rooted in character. and innovative leaders. We need to be creative, right? Every single day to improve the outcome for our students, okay? I don't have time to go into all of this, right? But basically, a great school, a great TVET, a great university has these characteristics. It has a transformative culture of core values, character, holistic development. It is continually innovating, adding more value all the time. And it has quality outreach. Somebody was mentioning about engaging the parents, the family, the primary partner, right? So transformative culture, continuous innovation, adding new value, and quality outreach, right? I want to just spotlight in 5 minutes, very, very quick, a few quick case studies. I won't go into them in depth, but when we do the full workshops later this year, right, we want to kick off the first one before the end of the year with all of you and your teams, and we'll go into them more in depth. But there was a university in Mexico called Tecnolania University, and when you go to the home page, this is what it says: my purpose. That university focuses on purpose and character, right? And when the president of the university, now it has 31 campuses through Mexico, and when he visits any campus, right, the students greet the principal, right? This way: my name is Milton. My character strength is honesty. And my purpose in life is to transform Uganda, okay? And then he goes to another student. My name is Maria. My character strength is generosity. And my purpose in life is to be a great doctor, right? All the students have clarity on who they are, on their character, on their purpose. Wouldn't that be really cool? Yes. If every school and every student in Uganda can actually have that kind of reality and outcome. There's a school in Texas called Alpha School. It's revolutionizing education with artificial intelligence, right? The core philosophy is education should foster independence and passion. But here's the kicker, right? They've integrated AI into the way they do things, right? Teachers are no longer called teachers, they're called guides. And it's focused on the holistic development beyond academics. But here's the big one. There's only 2 hours of academics every single day. That's all. How many hours do you have in your schools? 8. 2. And do you know who gives the instruction? An AI. This is a real school that was founded in 2014. Now they got 20 different campuses and they're expanding into Florida, New York, California. So all the students will come in, sit at a computer with headphones on, and there's an AI tutor who will take them through the various lessons, right? That's it. There is no more instruction, period, right? There are no exams either, by the way. There are no quizzes or tests either, right? And it's personalized learning. So you might ask, well, how do these students perform compared to their peers at other schools in Texas? They outperform their peers by 2 to 2.5 times. And all the other students are getting 6 to 8 hours of instruction, right? And then in the afternoon, right, the afternoon is not academics. It is real-world workshops and life skills, right? Where students get involved in being an entrepreneur, financial literacy, doing mastermind projects, right? And there's kind of motivational tools as well. I want to spotlight the role of the teacher. The role of the teacher is no longer a transmitter of knowledge. They're a guide, a mentor, and a coach. That is what it means to be a moral leader in education today. There are no lectures or reading. The emphasis is on growth in all dimensions. And the graduates from the Alpha schools, 95% attend four-year colleges, which is unbelievable, right? Compared to regular schools, okay? And over 90% of the students report they love their school. 90%, okay? So the integrated AI for personalization is a shift from teaching to guiding. Let's move to, the Fortune 500 companies. Now spotlight one company, Tesla. Have you heard of Tesla? They make the electrical cars, and now they're autonomous, right? So Elon Musk, the founder, I'm just spotlighting one of the Fortune 500 companies, right, are the 500 largest companies in the United States, right? They're often called the S&P 500. So Elon Musk, when he founded Tesla back in 2002, he interviewed the first 500 employees, right? And what he was interviewing for, the first thing he was interviewing for was character. Is this a good person, right? Does this person have a positive attitude? How are they as an individual, right? The next thing he's interviewing for is relationships. How does this person affect others? How do others like working with him or not, right? Are people going to like working with him or her? Next is skills, their ability to solve problems, and the decisions they made in solving that problems personally, right? Number 4 is application of knowledge, direct responsibility for significant accomplishments. And you know the most amazing thing he said? He said that the evidence, he said in terms of evidence of exceptional ability, he's looking for that, but it's not necessarily the case to work at Tesla to have a high school credential or a college degree. The only people that care about that today are educators, right? But the real world out there, they don't care about that because they know that that is not the totality of who the person is and how they're going to perform and the investment they're going to make into transforming that company. And so Tesla and the other 5 Fortune 500 companies, they're hiring on this model. They're hiring on the transformative education model, right? Not the conventional model. They're hiring on character, relationships, energy and vitality, and the application of knowledge. And he said that the biggest past mistake we made was hiring on this model, paying too much attention to IQ, to intellectual capability alone, and ignoring the other dimensions, right? Warren Buffett, I mentioned that earlier, his hiring criteria is first and foremost character. He calls it integrity, right? Next is initiative, next is energy, and next is intelligence. And what he said is that the worst thing is to hire an intelligent person without character, initiative, and energy, right? So intelligence is the last thing companies are hiring on. Because a really smart person without character is a misguided nuclear missile. That person is going to destroy the company, okay? And companies are no longer hiring for that. The question for us here, are we nurturing this one? We're only nurturing this. What about these ones, right? The other 3 dimensions. We need to hop on this like yesterday, right? I can't wait to see the new NCDC curriculum for 2026. Nurturing all 4 human dimensions, right? You think that's possible?
Yes.
You think that's mission possible or mission impossible? Richard, is this impossible or is it possible?
It's possible.
See, now Milton, take note of that.
Yes.
Right? The deputy director of NCDC said this is possible.
Possible.
So Richard, we will work with you, right? We'll collaborate together to make this a reality, okay? Is that exciting you or not?
Yes.
Yeah. Very, Richard?
Very much.
Very much excited, okay? Very much. Yeah. Okay. Another company, Pixar, right? They make all the 3D animation movies, right? Ed Catmull, who co-founded it with Steve Jobs at Apple, he wrote a book called Creativity Inc. And, it was all about the creativity of the founding team. He was in a meeting at one point, right? And he mentions that this came up in the last 3 pages of the book, right? Somebody asked him, you know, Ed, what is the difference that made the difference at Pixar? So when I read that statement, I said, I know the answer. I've been reading about creativity for 300 pages. It's the creativity of the founding members. No. He said something unbelievably surprising. He said it was the character of the founding members. The character of the founding members. That is that's what made the difference. And then creativity came after that, right? Okay? So we're on a mission to transform education in the Global South towards 2050. Why the Global South? Because 90% of the 1.2 billion students live in the Global South, and then we have Uganda here. We're in Uganda, right? 70% are young people, right? By 2050, 1 in 4 people on Earth are Africans. What kind of Africans are they going to be? Are they going to be good people? Are they going to be people of good character? Are they going to be? Are they not going to be corrupt? Are they not going to take bribes? This is the kind of generation that it's our responsibility to have that as the outcome. Is that mission possible or mission impossible? Mission possible with a few difficulties along the way, right? Yes. Okay. So to find out more, right, this is just an executive summary. We will go way more in depth in our 3-day Transforming Education Leadership Workshop, and I want to do the first one before the end of the year. There's a sense of urgency here, okay? We want to get a lot of partners on board to do this, and we want to do 3 more in 2026, at minimum. There should be even more than that, right? But at minimum, right? So what I want you to do, I'm going to give you, you're educators, right? Don't you love giving homework, right? Absolutely love it, right? It's like, there's no way you end the class without doing some homework. Today, you're the students, I'm the teacher, right? Just for 1 hour, okay? So I'm going to give you homework, okay? At the bottom of this page, there's a website, right? It is this website up here. Tonight, I want you to go there, and I want you to specifically start reading the blueprint for transforming education position paper. This is just the flyer. The position paper is about 40 pages long. It goes in depth on each one of these strategic points. This is your compass to transform education here in Uganda, right? I just gave you an overview just now, right? How many people here are going to do this homework? Oh, brilliant. So, Richard, you need to set up a special M&E situation here and verify that they all did it, right?
We have an M&E officer.
Oh, we have. Where's the M&E officer? Where's the M&E? Okay. You were just given a massive responsibility, right? You have to follow up, even the team that are not with NCDC, right? Can you do that?
Yes, I can do that.
Brilliant. So you follow up with them, and then after you read it, you guys come back together again and have another discussion about it, okay? It's not just read it, you come back and discuss it again and again, right? Like that, okay? So, in conclusion, right? In conclusion, this is the proposed Uganda Ministry of Education activation. This is mission, we're launching the mission now, okay?
Yes.
Right? It be immediate, starting now and going way through 2026. So, you know, we're not looking too far out, but this is what we want to do. We want you to step up as educational stakeholders and sponsor 4 transforming education leadership workshops with about 200 top educational leaders in Uganda, 1 before the end of the year and 3 in 2026. Is that doable?
Yes.
Right. Next, focus. So MOE, who do we want in these workshops? Ministry of Education department heads, Uganda county leaders, supervisors, superintendents, influencers, even bring in university folks, TVETs, and other educational stakeholders, right? The goal here is to cascade the content down to the individual schools, into the individual classrooms. That's the purpose of the people coming. So bring the leaders, right? We're what we nurturing leaders. Next, right? Global Peace Foundation is about to release an exciting new product called the Transforming Education online course. Everything we do in the in-person workshops, right? But now it's online. And the way we're going to do it, right, is that sponsors, the NCDC, could be any sponsors here, is to purchase subscriptions, right? In blocks of 50, 100, 250, 500, 1,000, right? And then there'll be options of 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, right? So that your stakeholders, the people that you're leading, can actually get exposed to what we were doing here this afternoon, more in depth, right? So this ensures ongoing access at scale for lead. This is how we can scale up very quickly. We spent 2 years developing this, right? And we're about to release it, okay? And then partner, right? Partner to host the East African Transforming Education Conference in 2026, okay? The East African Transforming Education. So Uganda will have a massive delegation. Kenya will have Daniel is here from Kenya. We'll also engage Rwanda, right? All the other countries. Tanzania.
And
Burundi.
And
Sudan.
The DRC.
The DRC. Okay. So probably less representatives from them, but the primary ones will be from Uganda and Kenya. These are the two countries we're working with primarily. Okay. So Richard, when do we get started on this work?
I thought we have started.
We already started. That's actually better than what I'm showing on the screen. On the screen it says, let's get started now because there's an urgency to this. The students are alive in our classrooms. But you're ahead of me here, right? We've already, that's better than this. Milton, give the NCDC a big round of applause. So thank you, folks. It's been an honor to be with you here this afternoon. I apologize if I wasn't strong with you, right? But I'm not here just to be polite, right? I'm here to encourage all of us, including myself the most, right? To do more, you know what I mean? Because there is a sense of urgency. I'm this way because I got designated as a son of Uganda.
Yes.
Our African God in me, right? Yes. And I drink Uganda tea, right? So by drinking the tea, that means a coffee, Ugandan coffee. That means now my blood is changing, right? It's Ugandan blood. So thank you very much.
Brothers and sisters, what do you think about this conference? Chairman, just a minute. What do you think? Because you have told us that you have already started. Just on behalf of all of us.
I think we first give another round of applause.
Thank you, Chairman.
Issues, we know them. But self-reflection is very important. So, as indicated, if you are to transform, start with yourself. So, it has triggered our minds to think about what is happening in our own lives, what is happening in the society, and what is happening globally. Of course, as NCDC, we started
many years. You realize that we would like going to America, Japan. Yes, we have been having these conferences. But what about the regional? We are signing protocols, East Africa Community, Common Markets Treaty. But we have not had a major East Africa education transformation framework, where all of you are taking a stake and say, East Africa must integrate through education this way. Kenyans are studying their own thing, we are studying our own thing. The Burundians are struggling with their own, so somehow we can benchmark. Because as my elder said, Africa renaissance. Very nice is, you know, it depends which nursery school you mean. Some of us nursery school. So there is a power within ourselves. We already have strength that we must now germinate and put on top of the education system. The values, the Ubuntu. The kingdoms must rise up again and resurrect their values in our education system. Why not? They are strong. So colleagues, we support that idea. Talk about it and discuss, is it possible? Then lastly is this declaration we are talking about. Transforming Education Declaration 2026. Yes, we are talking about the SDGs and what. What about NCDC Uganda designing a declaration for teachers upon which the blueprint can be driven forward? Maybe next year we can have that, and the president can ably integrate this in the cabinet and say, hey, the teachers are committing to be new teachers and within themselves provide the energy and the transformation of the future. So I will sit down and listen to you, and we take notes from every one of you. Please rise up, speak your mind. 1 or 2 minutes, don't overtalk, because we are many and we have to go back to the job. So 2 minutes, each one of you, please speak your mind. Yes, I rest my, yes please. Yes, my head.
Yes, thank you so much for giving me this chance. As I told you, I'm the Secretary for Education in Ghana Muslim Council.
Yes, please.
We manage education, Muslim education in the whole of Uganda. But of course, we work together with the NCDC in many areas. Of course, I want to thank them because you cannot praise a film star without recognizing the filmmaker. So in Uganda, educationists in Uganda can only be praised, but behind them is the NCDC. In Uganda, in our education system, we look at around 4 things, major. One is the issue of the knowledge of the child. Then we look at the skill. Then we also look at the values of that child. And then we look at the character, of course, either the attitude of a child. Now, along this line, NCDC, it is the work of the NCDC to develop a kind of content that will advance towards achieving this. Uganda, we have done something good that we are moving away from GBC system of education to CBC. But I want to learn from them whether it is to start it is good to start at a O level, or we could have started it. We could have started it at the what? At the foundation level, because at the foundation we have thematic system. Somewhere it changes a bit. Then O level we have the CBC. Again at the end of it, A level is also something else. Can we think about developing this? If it means having piloting in certain schools, let's try it and see how it will work. That's how I'm thinking, how we should do it. I don't want to talk much, but you.
Thank you, our elder. Another one?
I will learn a lot. My request is one. There are a lot of things which were asked. In future, maybe we need to give more time so that we internalize some of these good messages. I think they're very good. Some of them just pass like wind, but they're very good. So in the future, maybe we need to give more time so that we internalize. Because also these issues are real, the real issues of teachers.
Yes.
What's also very interesting is the teachers, the students being taught, students of 21st century are being taught by teachers of 20th century, using the 19th
Don't forget that one.
That now brings us back to where we are now, NCDC. I think that should be an eye-opener for all of us, because the public good we are talking about as education is not being felt in Uganda. Education has become commercialized. Anybody who has not even gone to class can open a school, and you find those values are never there. People are looking after money. So the character, the values we're talking about, sometimes it's being misrepresented in the education system. In line with also the structural challenges we're talking about, the leadership. So these are things that really need the institution now to come up openly, and they will let us try to see what are those core values that we want to see in our next curriculum. Because right now, as we talk now, we are struggling with all-level curriculum. And yet this has not been internalized properly. We want to rush for A-level, which is like a dream that will not come true. Because we have failed to put the issues of the lower level curriculum. Teachers are in we don't have instructional material, but now we want to rush to have the A-level. What are our values as an institution? In charge with the responsibility of directing people to go to those values we're talking about. That's why I was requesting Doctor, next time have it in a way that we have all this team and we discuss this thing seriously, so that the 4 hours we have may not be enough to have all these issues taken.
So the question you need to pose to members, when should we have the next and who's
No, the way does not matter.
Okay.
But the time we give for the discussion.
3 days. We're going to do a 3-day leadership workshop.
3 days leadership conference
Yes.
on education,
So
educational
that's-
leadership.
we call all stakeholders and we talk in these issues.
Very good.
For us
Thank
as
you,
teachers union, we are concerned because we treasure so much on quality.
Yes, please.
But we have focus which is misplaced. Others are looking for votes.
Yes.
On the teachable level, we talk about change, that change is a fact of life. If you don't want to change, change will change you. And I'm seeing this thing happening, and we have really to embrace this workshop, really being given little time. How I wish we could be together and we say now as different members from different entities. Now, concerning what we have shared, what should be, that the next course of action. Because, for instance, I was looking at the issue of character and the other things you have talked about, and I was looking at some of these teachers, a teacher who believes in humiliating a learner because she has not performed well, instead of encouraging this learner or telling her to improve. I'm looking at this teacher, maybe a learner has made a small mistake, and this teacher thinks of caning and giving like 20 strokes as if you're killing a snake. As looking at this teacher who really needs to understand the children, and so I was like, what can we do now for this teacher? If I have a way forward, then we'd plan for really what to do for a teacher. Maybe a workshop for teachers, and maybe how to manage the teachers, because we have so many of them in the whole country, so how to get all of them on board. And now also looking at a learner, of course also the teacher there, with the many mental health issues that we have, the psychosocial support that is needed. We are seeing children committing suicide. We are seeing children, teachers also committing suicide over caning. Yes. And I'm like, surely with this, the intelligence, and even as it grows even higher, what can we do, surely? So that we have this teacher of good character, we have this learner of good character, we have this parent of good character, and then what really even made me so happy, so that we have a child who is happy when they are at school. Yes. I submit here.
Yes. Clap for.
Before we made, we need to carry out a study, so that in that meeting, we are able to share basing on the facts as far as AI is concerned amongst our students, in the schools, in the community, even among the parents. So let's carry out that study so that we can have some facts about it. Secondly, when you're talking about the focus, you talked about Uganda County leaders, of which I think we're referring to the cultural leaders. So can we qualify that the cultural leaders and religious leaders, so that there is no, no what? No bias in that. The other issue, I want to thank NCDC, because you said you've already begun. This is very good. When you look at the new curriculum, this is what is happening. However, let's also interest the parents in this. And as I thank you, in Busoga, one time we had an education expo organized by a cultural organization, and NCDC participated. Our children were very excited to learn a lot, and also to see people who make the curriculum. So I pray that you get more closer to the ground, because what you speak, you are just like us as cultural leaders. People are able to do what? Are able to accept. Lastly, Doctor, thank you for the issue of personal transformation. Actually, we are battling with the word of mindset change in our society. Everyone talks about mindset change. This is the beginning. So NCDC, as we are revising or making the curriculums, let's make sure that this is a very great issue. And even us as cultural leaders, we need to emphasize it, because mindset begins with personal transformation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we clap for her once again, because these cultural institutions, and her wisdom is that all cultural institutions
promote academic skills. In order to fight the unemployment, we should also enhance other skills which are there with our learners, but they are not identified, they are not promoted, and we have to help the instructors, the teachers in the schools to help the learners so that they can cultivate those skills.
Exactly. Please clap for Mama. That is very important. And I think, Chair, I want to remind you that when we had a meeting with my sister here, we were just quarreling to each other that time. Because there is a poor marketing of the great work that you are doing here. That's a great concern that people out there don't know, yet you are doing great work here. So we need to bring that to the attention of the player, the different players that manage information flow in the country. So Mama, that is very critical that you have non-academic. But then we have to look for another word, another replacement word, because when we call it non-academic, then what are you talking about? We should find words that market, that promote, that are adoptive to everybody. Say, okay, non-academic, what are you talking about? But they want to pay for academic. Some of those people of ours, for them they want to focus on the academic. So when you say non-academic, that one is not important. So leaders, we are here to reframe everything. Reframe it, and we now profile and promote. So the point is, when we come to the next engagement, these are some of the things that we want to now iron out so that NCDC is helped to navigate in the current and the future challenges of education terrains. Yes, Mama, you want to say something?
Personally, I think National Curriculum Development Center has taken lead in the transformation of education in the United States. They need to ensure that there is an education symposium that will bring all the key stakeholders on board. The representative from Uganda Muslim Supreme Council earmarked that the number of people who open schools, are they aware of the curriculum reforms that we are championing? If they are, how are they going to incorporate them as they are establishing these institutions? So the symposium would have the founding bodies of the various schools, The symposium would have the representative of the Parents Teachers Association. The symposium would have the supervisors at various levels. I think you call them the inspector of schools, education officers. The symposium would have the teachers' representative and all the other administrators, so that we can be able to have all these stakeholders on board. Society does not change if the major institutions are not actually handled. The major institutions that can make this country better are two: the school and the family. Without these two, there's no change that we can ever expect anywhere in the country. Everything starts from the family, everything starts from the school.
School, no.
I've seen.
Everything starts from family.
Yeah, so I would now think that we need to agree on how do we have all these stakeholders on board. If we can succeed in having that in this country, then we shall have opened the Pandora box through which we can fix so many other issues. Because these are the drivers. These are the engines through which we can achieve everything we've shared on table. I salute NCDC and all the other stakeholders who've come. My view is let's work together. The presenter made a very key point that there is no transformation in a single entity. It must be a collaboration of different entities. My request is NCDC should take a lead.
Okay. NCDC should take a what? That's the recommendation. And then, but then, how can the NCDC move when it does not have enough resources? I think that's a critical point. So all of us can support NCDC in that area. How do we now support NCDC if all of us
who completed the senior 4 last year, and they had gone through a system of competency-based education, there was a risk as a country that we would lose that generation of students if we allowed them to transition to a knowledge-based system. There was a possibility that they were going to get shocked. Many of them would drop out of school. So we had to prepare and take care of that category of learners. So that's how we came up with what we called an adapted curriculum for A-level. But at the same time as well, as a government, we have embarked on a process of reviewing the full review of the A-level curriculum to make it competency-based. And that as well is going to run for some time. The preparatory works are going to run for some time. And we expect around 2028, 29 to roll out fully the A-level curriculum. So the reforms are going on across board. Yes. Then the issue of NCDC taking lead to host the next Education Leadership Conference is a good idea, but however, we plan ahead and we have a calendar of a number of activities we should be undertaking. In April of next year, 2026, we are hosting an international conference on curriculum development. It's going to be the second series of the international conference. In 2023, we held the first one. And in April 2026, we are holding another one. And we had the launch, actually a good enough part of the work for the launch is in the background. And we are midway through the preparations. And the conferences of that nature involve a lot of resources and a lot of planning. Now, having another activity introduced in 2 to 3 months is likely not to be feasible in light of what we're already organizing for April 2026. So my suggestion, either another organization takes the responsibility of organizing the first one, the one we are anticipating in 2 to 3 months' time, or in the alternative, we can schedule this activity to be organized by NCDC in the following year. So to me, those are the two options. Either another organization takes responsibility at this stage, or we can take responsibility but not at the following year. So that's what I wanted to submit.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Good at all. Okay, anyway, today you had a meeting with Global Peace Foundation and other on the issue you've just been discussing. How, because you are the one responsible for curriculum, regulations and changes which are going on. So far, what things have you reached? As we are doing transformation of our education.
Okay. So good evening. Firstly, let me introduce myself. I'm called Dr. Richard Lumba. I'm the Deputy Director for National Curriculum Development Center. This afternoon we had good discussions in a workshop organized by the Global Peace Foundation, Uganda, and it was about transformation of education, not only in Uganda but globally, and the focus is to orient our education system to focus on matters such as character, relationship, values, and other soft skills. There were very good discussions, but this is not new in the country. Already, as Ugandans are aware, as a government, we rolled out the competency-based curriculum in 2020, and the foundation of the competency-based curriculum are the issues we are talking about today: to focus on character, to focus on relationship, to focus on values, so that we train a complete person in our education system. So it's a transformation which is already ongoing in the country, but one of the issues that came out in today's discussion are the preparation to adapt to emerging technologies, especially the changes being introduced by artificial intelligence. So how do we adapt our education systems to meet the changes that are being introduced by artificial intelligence globally?
So, how do you see this? Have you been like, did you have those plans, or it is just a good initiative which you are upon to pick up?
Of course, it's not really completely new. We are aware, and we are carrying out reforms at different levels, both lower secondary, or what used to be called O-level. We are having reforms in A-level. We are having reforms, education reforms at basic foundation education level in primary and lower primary and early childhood level. Now, these technologies and these approaches are being incorporated across board. But it's always good to discuss and dialogue as partners so that we develop consensus on how we approach these reforms. But it's not completely new. We are doing it already, and we have started the journey.
Of course, going back to the changes or the transformations you are trying to bring in, to change it out, like, are you, and they see, if you consider our parents, I'm complaining some of them, but why did you say to jump to the primary level, go to O level, and the A level is still, they're still on the other, all the curriculum.
You know, curriculum development processes are a cycle. A wrong perception by many people, and is that the competence-based curriculum at the foundational level in the primary is just starting, or it has not been there. But in 2007, when we rolled out the thematic curriculum in primary schools, the foundations of it.
That was a kickoff?
Yeah, it was a kickoff of the competence-based curriculum. But however, we recognize always that after every 5 years or 10 years, you are expected to review the curriculum. So by the time we embarked on the lower secondary, the primary level curriculum, to a big extent, was already competence-based. So we were building on the foundation we had started and the systems we had already created at primary education level. But however, given that so many things have changed since that time, technologies have changed, and the society expectations have changed, the work skill needs have changed, so many things have changed. It has become necessary that we have even review the primary level curriculum. So it's not correct to say that we started with the secondary for going to primary, but the real reforms for competence-based education started with primary, we moved to secondary, lower secondary, and now we're moving into the upper secondary, what used to be called the A-level. So we are moving systematically as a country.
We should be expecting now the A-level.
The A-level has already started. Okay, we for the past 6 months, actually we started in November last year and had a short intervention, and by February of this year, we developed what we call the adapted curriculum, so that we can prepare a good landing for students who had gone through the competence-based curriculum, O-level, and start their examinations at the end of last year. So we had to prepare for them so that we are not shocked and we see high dropout rates in schools. So we had an adapted A-level curriculum, but as well, we have commenced the process of developing having a full review of the A-level curriculum, and we expect that by 2028, 2029, we shall fully implement a revised curriculum for A-level.
Lastly, would you maybe enlighten a little bit and also encourage the parents, because they're a little bit confused. They used to know the D1s, the D what. Now they see, is it moderate? There's things we change. And what was your target specifically as UNCD?
Yeah, thank you. I know parents, a number of them, of course, are adjusting to the changes that are happening. But one of the things we are trying to achieve as a country and as the education sector is to move away from an examination-driven system, to focus on a skill-based system. What can a learner be able to do at the end of going the cycle, after going through an education system? As opposed to the D1s you mentioned, the D2s, the 80% and the 90%. We need to focus more on what can this learner do at the end of the training, at the end of the education system. So we are encouraging more what we call assessment of learning. Okay, the assessment of learning. What has this person, what has this child, what has this learner achieved during the process? So we are putting less emphasis on grades, D1, D2, 90%, 80%, etc., but focusing more on reporting what a learner is able to do. So that's why the system of assessment has changed, the system of reporting has changed, and over time we believe Ugandans and parents in particular will be able to appreciate the changes which have been introduced.
What forced you to do that? Is this the rampant unemployment in our country which forced, like, you have maybe the previous education as the one which has caused that?
No, there are several things which led to these reforms. Preparing a learner for employment is very important. And of course, as you know, you need to, everyone goes to school with the desire that at the end of the school, you are able to fit into the workplace. So equipping a learner with the skills, appropriate skills needed in the workplace is very important. It was a driver. But there are many other issues we look at. We're seeing a lot of deteriorating values, moral values in society. And some of these things come up because of the education system you go through. We are looking at issues of technology changes and the need to prepare a learner who can easily adapt to the new technologies. And especially we are preparing a lifelong learner. You know, learning is continuous. As opposed to a knowledge-based system where you go to school and say you have been taught information on geography, information on the earth, the global world, etc. But knowledge changes. So you prepare a learner to learn on their own throughout the entire life. So those are some of the important issues we looked at while initiating these reforms.
Lastly, what are some of the resolutions you've concluded on this Global Peace Foundation?
Yeah, in today's meeting we have agreed as various partners. It was attended by various educational partners, cultural institutions, religious institutions, and all other parents, and a number of educational partners. So we have agreed and have been able to appreciate that it's really necessary to transform the education system. And one of the things on the take-homes, we have agreed that we need to hold a 3-day education leaders conference, and that should be happening in 2 or 3 months from now, so that we can have more time to dialogue and debate on the transformation we need in the education sector in the country.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.